Let's say you have a plague of insects, like, I don't know, millions of cicada awakening after a years-long slumber. Or worse, bugs that would rather devour your crops. And let's say this is happening like 200 years ago. So you don't have the pesticides or DDT to wipe them out. What do? Why, you have an absolutely delightful festival with dances and Buddhist or Shinto prayers and taiko drumming, fluting, and then at dusk, your entire village lights torches and marches in long lines along the narrow paths between the rice fields, enticing all those nasty bugs to follow you as you lead them away. I just learned about this charming and delightful tradition recently. It's called Mushi Okuri, or sending off the insects. Today, let's listen to the frogs I recorded from my bedroom window at 3:30 a.m. and talk about Mushi Okuri, which is also sometimes called Mushi Oi, chasing away insects. Uncanny Japan is author me, Teresa Matsura, exploring all that is weird from old Japan. Strange superstitions and old wives' tales, cultural oddities and interesting language quirks. These are little treasures I dig up while doing research for my writing, and I want to share them with you here on Uncanny Japan. I hope you like the show. Hey, and how are you? Just a heads up, my patrons will be getting this enchanting, dare I say mesmerizing, binaurally mic'd frog ensemble that you're listening to now. They can fall asleep to it or relax to it or have wildly freaky amphibian dreams to it. I want to mention that over the years, I've had listeners ask if there's a way they could show their support for the show without doing a long-time subscription deal. So I finally got around to signing up for the Buy Me a Coffee, or in my case, it's Buy Me an Oni. It's actually all one word, buymeacoffee.com/uncannyjapan. Also, you can leave messages there, which is really cool because then I get to learn what kinds of episodes you like best. And also, I'm going to put up, for those who do the Buy Me an Oni thing, the same 25-minute long Randy Ricefield Frog Orchestra that is going up on Patreon and that you're listening to now. So that's buymeacoffee.com/uncannyjapan if you're interested in that. Okay, today's show. What's this about sending away bugs? It looks like the practice has been around all through Japanese history, but it's said to have really taken off about 200 years ago at the beginning of the Edo era. That's when, indeed, a large plague of insects devastated the crops. People were like, we need to do something, and they came up with this brilliant tradition. I got the impression that this is quite a minor event that takes place only in super small rural areas in Japan, with lots of rice fields, of course. And I was just about to say that I've never heard of it or seen it in my 30-plus years here, so that it must be really, really rare. But then I did a quick search and voila, I found that there's a place not too far from me where they do Mushi Okuri. So it seems to be one of those festivals where people living nearby know all about it and take part in it, but not necessarily a big crowd drawer. Oh, and I would be remiss not to mention that in 1967, Mushi Okuri was designated an intangible cultural property of Japan. So what is this Mushi Okuri business? It's a yearly event usually taking place sometime in June or July, when the locals get together to ceremoniously expel all the harmful insects from their fields, and also to pray for a bountiful crop. They do this by having a festival with dances and music, a little ceremony, and prayers. And then they end with a long procession of torch carriers, leading all the bugs away from their delicious crops. Now, of course, there are a bunch of different versions and nuances, but let me describe one that I found quite quaint. Here, a small wooden boat, complete with sails and little decorations, is built, and a certain townsperson is designated to carry it. At the top of the mountain, there's a ritual, and a sacred fire is lit. Then after some prayers, the villagers go one by one to light their torches, or hote. With the boat-carrying person in the lead, everyone follows him or her down, 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 winding their way through the footpaths between the water-filled rice fields. Everyone carries their torch parallel to the ground with the fire end facing the terraced fields. I'm guessing this is for two reasons. One, to better lure the bad bugs away, and two, perhaps to prevent ash and fire and stuff from falling on your head. It looks like a lot of children take part in this event, so safety first. Anyway, it's a long procession that ends at the beach, and there the boat is floated in the sea, where it's tied to a small motorboat that pulls it slowly away from shore with presumably all the insects on board. It sounds like this tradition has been kind of rekindled in Japan, or more brought to the people's attention, because of a book and then a movie called Rebirth, or the entirely cooler name in Japanese, Yokame no Semi. I'm not sure I can do the title justice in English, but something like The Day 8 Cicada? No. The 8th Day Cicada? The cicada of the 8th day might be better. It sounds better in Japanese. But anyway, that's Yokame no Semi. A student once explained it very poetically to me, saying something like, a cicada lives underground for years, to finally crawl its way to the surface where it only lives 7 days. But what if there were a cicada that lived 8 days? How lonely would it be? Now don't at me about how cicada don't all crawl out of their skins on the same day or drop dead on the same day. That's not the point. It's poetic. Anyway, the book was popular, I believe, and the movie won a bunch of awards. And in it, the protagonist returns to Shodo-shima, or Shodo Island, where she and her son take part in the Mushi Okuri festival. It's so pretty with the torchlight at sundown, fire reflecting in the flooded terraced rice fields, and everyone chanting, Tomose, Tomose, light a fire, light a fire. And I think it's so romantic, although that might not be the word I'm looking for. This thing, strolling through a scenic rice field at twilight, torch in hand, like a modern-day Pied Piper escorting all manner of insect to the sea, where they can board a tiny boat and sail off into the sunset. Some Mushi Okuri traditions don't end at the sea and use a different method of ridding the town's insects. For example, a straw horse with a straw soldier on top is sometimes carried down the hills. These used to be floated down a river to exterminate the vermin, but recently I read they're reused. So I don't know what that means as far as getting rid of bugs. I even found a town in Hiroshima that makes this wonderful, creepy effigy of a military man named Sanemori Saito, who commanded the Heike clan. Back in 1183, this Sanemori Saito tripped over a stump of some cut rice, and then he made a curse that he would come back as a harmful insect and ruin the fields. They call this almost life-sized doll Sanemori-san, and after marching him through the fields and having him attract his buddies, the harmful bugs, he is ceremoniously thrown into a river to drown. Some Mushi Okuri festivals have fireworks, some have bonfires, and some have old townspeople who dress up as insects while their friends do a mock beating of them. This isn't about real bugs either. The practice also signifies purging all the bad or evil from your body, so anyone who participates has that nice benefit as well. I'll end by saying that because nowadays there are more pesticidal ways to control bugs, and also because having an entire town march around with torches can be a fire hazard, a lot of areas have quit this tradition. But if you live in Japan or plan to be here during June or July, I encourage you to check out your area to see if they just might have a Mushi Okuri festival that you can take part in. Thank you so much for listening. Please stay safe and stay well, and I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. You've just reached the end of another episode of Uncanny Japan. Perhaps you'd like more. A monthly folktale translated and retold by me. The occasional binaurally mic'd soundscape like the ones you hear on this show. Or recipes, behind-the-curtain episodes, homemade postcards, and more. If you're interested in that or supporting the show in any way, please search for Uncanny Japan and Patreon. We've got a wonderful group over there. Thank you again for listening, supporting, reviewing, and telling your friends about the show. My name is Teresa Matsura, and I will talk to you again soon.